So this time we are approaching Jamsugyo. Usually once or twice a year in the summertime, this bridge goes totally disappeared.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. By the way, off subject. Does that strip on the sidewalk light up? I have to get a quick picture of it. That's super cool.
Seoul.
No, that-
Welcome to Seoul. 네, 안녕하세요. 스테이션B의 강병희입니다. 오늘 이 특별한 시승 인터뷰를 준비해봤습니다. 지금 한국에서 가장 처음으로 이 새로 나온 그랜드 체로키를 시승하고 있는데요. 이 그랜드 체로키 신형의 인테리어 부분을 총괄하고 있는 크리스 벤자민 부사장님을 특별히 모시고 서울 구경도 좀 시켜드리면서 이 차량에 들어가 있던 어떤 디자인의 개발 이야기들도 상세하게 들어보도록 하겠습니다. Hi, Chris.
How's it going?
Good. So, is it your first visit to Korea?
Yeah, I was only here once overnight in the airport. Never left the airport. So this is my first time.
What is your first impression in Seoul?
I love it. It's so cool because even though it's cold, so many people walking around, and to me that's a sign of a healthy, vibrant city.
Gangnam Style.
Yeah.
That's why the new song is came out.
Yeah.
So, was there anything in your mind to see or to try to do when you visit Korea?
The short answer is no, because before I go somewhere, I try not to do too much research
Ah,
because I like to discover a city. It's maybe a little naive because you can Google anything these days and find everything and plan a whole trip, but I also don't do that. I don't like to, I don't plan out every minute of my trip ever.
okay.
I like to just go and be and enjoy and soak it up and be spontaneous.
So during that kind of a procedure, do you sometimes get some additional inspiration?
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like
Yeah.
inspiration comes from discovery.
Okay.
And when you're in a new city, the whole thing is about discovery. The people, the architecture, the culture, the food,
Yeah.
which I'm also looking forward to trying a lot more of while I'm here. But yeah, those are the great things about experiencing new places.
Okay. Now let's talk about a little bit more about this new product. We are sitting in the Grand Cherokee,
Yes.
which is just launched yesterday in Korea. The interior is fabulous,
you.
in terms of the materials and colors and the fittings. Everything looks great. I would like to hear how you initially started the first sketch of this interior.
I have my ideas of what our Jeeps should look like, generally speaking. For example, the idea of this mid-bolster that runs through the center,
This part.
stitched part, this metal wing that runs around the outside. If you look at a lot of our new Jeeps, so this Grand Cherokee, the new Compass has a similar element, not the same thing. So there are certain things that I like, that when I provide direction to the design team, that I tell them my feelings. I let them explore their own creativity and come with their own ideas. So Garrison was the interior designer, and between he and Ludwin Cruz, who was the other member of the team, the two of them were the final two competitors
Yeah.
in the sketching phase and in the model phase. And so we ended up combining a lot of features of both of their interiors. And then they both worked hand in hand, throughout the process, moving it through to production. And you can see like the console, how fast this angle is. It just sort of
Yeah.
flows into the IP. So it feels like it's surrounding you. It has a kind of a sexiness to it, And it doesn't feel hard or stiff. It doesn't feel, rugged like you would maybe expect to find in a Jeep. But as we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
Grand Cherokee and a Wrangler are two completely different vehicles. And so we needed to show that difference. But there are certain things in here that you can see that we really pushed for, like, on the instrument panel, this open pore walnut
real
wood.
wood?
It's real wood.
No.
Yeah, of course.
Really?
Yeah. And you can see like the way it curls up, and it's on your side too. It curls
Yeah,
up behind
here
the
in-
screen.
Behind the
It
screen.
doesn't just crash into a surface
Yeah,
in the
it has
back and
curvature.
get cut off.
Yeah.
And working with our materials engineering team, I mean, we went through so many trials just for this radius alone because
Okay.
if it's too tight, the wood can crack or delaminate, whatever the case may be. So there's a lot that goes into creating this form and these shapes. Even, you know, the sculpture in the door, how the instrument panel
Yeah.
pushes out into the door, and the wood is sculptural.
Yeah, I was
You know,
really
it has that
impressed by
nice
this
negative-
part. You know,
Yeah.
this curve and the different metal and the wood meeting
Yeah.
together beautifully.
We definitely try to, like, there are obviously functional elements like the vents. We try to make the vents less of a focus. So what you really notice is this metal wing that runs the full width, and then this waterfall from the screen. You know,
This
if I
part.
close this as
Yeah.
well, you see this sort of
That's
black
right.
waterfall that just rolls down the center, and the screen is, you know, very thin on the side. You can feel it.
That's true.
So it's this
Yeah.
beautiful floating appearance, which, you know, definitely adds to the modernity and the luxurious feel of it.
What I really like is still there are real buttons.
Yeah,
Yeah, because many brands are, you know, hiding their buttons and, you know, moving their buttons inside the graphic touch screen.
yep.
But I'm not a big fan of it.
As we design our vehicles, we do work very closely with our engineering team. And obviously there are different things we consider: Consumer Reports, JD Powers, looking at what customers respond to, what they like, what things cause frustration. And the main thing, I think, from a customer's perspective is they like for it to be first surface. So even if we didn't have actual hard buttons, we would make sure that these functions can be reached very easily with the touch, you know, with a one touch.
Yeah.
So for example, these are really redundant because you can control the HVAC system
Right.
from the screen, but the redundant controls, people appreciate the convenience and the ease of it. But if you wanted to change the temperature, you could just click up there.
Oh,
You can turn
okay.
your seat heating on, you can control your temperature very easily with just one touch, as you saw. But other things like volume control,
Yeah.
or if you're shifting
Knobs,
through
but-
you know, songs on the back of the steering wheel, on the right hand
Oh,
side
yeah,
you have
yeah,
the
yeah.
volume control, and on the left hand side you can skip through either
Right.
change station or skip through songs. And I find those to be the most convenient, especially if I'm driving more in a sporting
Serious
fashion.
dynamic
Yeah.
race.
Then, you know, you don't really want to take your hands off the steering wheel. And then
So you can see that Namsan Tower. We are approaching the Namsan. This is the mountain
yeah.
located in the Gangbuk area.
Yeah.
And there is a restaurant up above this
Is there?
tower.
Yeah.
And it has a rotating floor. So
Very slowly, so
yeah,
do
very
you
slowly.
don't notice it?
Very slowly.
That's cool. Funny thing is, I took a picture of that from my hotel this morning
Uh-huh.
as the sun was coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. A Wrangler.
Always cool to see a Wrangler in the middle of an urban environment.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
Because we're so used to like knowing the capability and going off-roading in them, and but then seeing them in the middle of a city, it's just like, oh yeah, that works too.
So regarding this new steering wheel, so I guess this is also the real wood
That's real wood.
with this curvature
Yes,
in one piece.
one piece.
How come?
There's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that my team has to
Yeah.
do back and forth with our engineering team, with the supplier. Because what's cool about it is, you know, I would say the old school look is like you have the wood up here on top of the steering
Right.
wheel, and we got rid of that because looks old-fashioned to me. But creating that sculpture at the bottom is super cool because it keeps the balance low. There's this sort of line up here, the chrome around the buttons. It creates this nice width
Yeah.
on it with the piano black inside.
Hmm.
And then that is sort of very opposite feeling to the warmth and the sort of roundness of the wood.
Yeah.
But it all sort of works together. And then of course the horn pad with the stitching on it. And that stitch color, by the way, is called cognac. You can see the another reference to a consumable item, right? The Tupelo from Tupelo honey
Yeah.
is the color, is the
This-
main color space. It's called Tupelo. And yeah, Tupelo honey is a very rich, buttery, very premium honey.
Yeah.
And that's why we felt it was fitting for this top end Summit Reserve model.
Okay.
The wood is an open pore walnut wood. It's inspired from a butcher block, and just that overall like feeling of warmth that you should get from wood that
Yeah.
a lot of times in cars it gets lost because it's covered in like coatings or whatever the case may be. So it was a great process, you know, to really push on the supplier to achieve this finish.
Do you have another color? Okay. How many color variation for wood and leather?
So the Summit Reserve comes in 2 colors.
Yeah.
You get this combination, the black and Tupelo. The wood is always the same, the
Mhm.
open pore walnut. And then you get an all black version
Ah, okay.
where everything is black, but you get these cool cognac accent stitches everywhere.
Black.
Much
Ah,
like you have up here,
yeah.
you get this color combination in the rest of the
All over the
interior.
seats.
Yep. In the limited model, we offer another color.
Mhm.
It's also a warm color space. It's called Wicker, but it's not quite as creamy as this. It's not quite as rich.
Mhm.
It's closer to. It's more grayed out.
Mhm.
So it's a cooler tone than this, but it's still in the warm color space.
Okay.
You don't have to offer 600 different colors to achieve luxury.
No.
You just need to offer the right colors.
Yes.
So that's what we've done.
The very fine selection.
Yes.
Very good. Was it from the designers team to put this Macintosh special speakers on it, or
Yeah. I mean,
how did it start?
we worked closely with the idea of creating this luxurious space,
Yeah.
luxury product, and then finding what the appropriate audio partner would be.
Mhm.
And the cool thing was Macintosh was very interested, and we, worked also with our brand team to make sure we set up that partnership. And Macintosh was super engaged the whole time.
Oh.
They did the tuning on the system themselves. They wanted to make sure that it met their standards, which are obviously very high for audio performance. And then the design of, the speakers and all of the elements that you see in the
Yeah.
vehicle, our team did. And we just tried to hold true to like that black glass and metal
Mhm.
Macintosh aesthetic,
Yeah.
because I find that super cool. It's
Mhm.
just like this very simple, iconic, high contrast color combination, and it's really fitting because you get the warmth from the Tupelo and
Yeah.
the open pore walnut wood, and then you contrast that with the very cold like black glass metal, and it's just like this beautiful combination. So it works very well together. And so I think the power of design is really the differentiator, because if you think about it from a customer's perspective,
Yeah.
they think that most new cars are fairly safe,
Mhm.
more or less reliable, have sort of the same features, just from a customer's perspective, not someone in the industry. And the differentiator is the way it looks and how you interact with it. By the way, off subject, does that strip on the sidewalk light up?
Yes.
Because it was green
Yes,
before.
LED.
That's that's super cool. Wait, I have to get a quick picture of that. That's super cool.
Seoul.
No, that-
Welcome to Seoul.
And that's for me like one of the things, like when I'm just discovering a city like we're doing right now, seeing stuff like that I hadn't seen before. Man,
Yeah,
That's-
and it's
I mean,
way more safe, for the pedestrian
yeah.
and also for the drivers,
yeah, because you can see it.
Yeah.
It's very obvious.
and especially in nighttime.
Yeah.
It works.
Yep.
Yeah, let's talk about the ambient lights. I can see.
Yeah, it's easier to see them in
Yeah.
in the nighttime, obviously. But here on the ambient color,
Okay.
you can choose from these 5 colors. And actually, speaking of the Macintosh, this second color, so this color is exactly the Macintosh blue eyes. It's the same backlighting that the Macintosh logo
Yeah,
has
right.
in the door.
Yeah.
So we chose that color specifically to match that. It's funny actually to also talk about how agreeable the Macintosh team was and how excited they were about the partnership. If you look at one of their amps,
Yeah.
right, the Macintosh is always backlit in green.
Oh, yeah, right.
I didn't like the green,
You didn't.
so I asked them if we could use the blue instead from
Okay.
their power needles,
Yeah.
and they allowed us to do that. So that's like a deviation from the
Wow.
home audio
Yeah.
stuff, but they were cool with it, thankfully, you know.
So our next destination is Korean War Memorial Museum.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, and there are the weapons that has been used during the Korean War period, including the Jeep Willys.
You know, the military heritage of the Wrangler. That's incredible. So powerful when you drive past it and you see those large sculptures like the soldier hugging the child right there.
Now, new generation of the Jeep product also has the larger screen, and larger screen means that the graphic user interface is now getting more important. So how did you approach this new design inside the display? Because this is also part of the interior design.
We treat user experience and interior design, they're done together, but also separate in a way. So we have a separate user experience team that's led by Vince Galante.
Yeah.
So his team and my team work together to make sure there's harmony between them, because for example, you can see like the light tones in the background, it's almost like a stone
Oh yeah, real
finish,
right?
you know. So it's those kind of like subtle touches in there that make it sort of blend with the environment. But the major thing is really to, because this is the Uconnect 5 system, is to make sure that it was easy to use,
Yeah.
simple, straightforward. The menu at the bottom is as easy to use as
Yeah.
it gets. We've, over the years, have gotten a lot of awards for our UX system, and just the ease of use and the simplicity, the intuitiveness. You don't want to have a customer get into their new vehicle and not be able to figure out where things are. You know, that's, to me, that's bad design. And also, if you're like, you know, doing the volume control, if you click while the volume is up,
Oh,
it gives you the volume of all of these different things separately.
additional functions.
The phone, the music, the you know, Siri or Alexa, whichever you have connected. You can control those volumes separately.
All in one place.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, obviously, if you're shaking, it's hard to,
Yeah.
you know, pinpoint an area on the screen, and that's why we design our screens in a way where, with this floating feeling, you can easily put your finger on the side.
Yeah.
We've got this little flick on the bottom, which is like a finger post, so you can put your finger there.
Right.
You can plant your hand there to get stability, and then of course all of the HVAC controls, which is, if you were off-roading, the only thing you would really be messing with. You've got it right there.
So this time you're approaching Jamsugyo, and this means it's a sunken bridge.
So is it a tunnel?
No, it's bridge,
Yeah.
but now we can go through the bridge. But when it rains hard, this bridge goes under.
Oh wow.
It goes sunken. You can take a very close look at the Han River.
Wow. And does it ever? Does the
So-
level of the river come up to the level of the street?
Usually once or twice a year in the summertime, this bridge goes totally disappeared.
Really?
Yeah, because the Han River, the
Yeah,
level
it
comes
goes-
up. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So this integration of local navigation into this system, you know, while I was working as a product manager, it was super difficult job because every local supplier has their own design theme, and
Yes.
sometimes that theme does not go side by side with the brand's identity, right?
For sure.
But this one looks really cool.
Yeah, it does look cool. It's got the 3D buildings in it. I think it's easy to, in your head, create that separation though, specifically for navigation.
Yeah.
Because even if, for example, the colors on here aren't exactly the same as what's around it, we've made an effort to make, you know, the upper and lower bar fairly
Yeah.
neutral.
Yeah.
So that if you had, for example, a navigation, it allows you to integrate it without it feeling too out of place. For example, also the integration of wireless CarPlay,
Oh, yeah.
Android Auto here in the Grand Cherokee. Those obviously have different graphical interfaces than our system, but because our upper and lower bars are fairly clean and simple, you can use those and it doesn't feel out of place.
Yeah.
We find that in some cases, people want to use what's familiar to them.
Mhm.
So if it feels and looks like it does on your phone, as a customer, you're happy about that.
I'm not saying that this car is imperfect, but if there is anything that you would like to improve or change in next facelift or the next generation, what would you like to do in this car?
I think from a design perspective, it will last for a long time. It has a nice timeless quality to it. I think we will move to a point where less and less the vents are visible or needed. And I know in the US we do have much stricter like performance standards, because if you're driving around in Arizona, you want direct air on your face. Otherwise you're sweating to death. So I haven't yet been satisfied that we've found the balance between hiding them and getting the performance we need. Obviously one day we will be there, it's just not today. But yeah, there isn't very much about this interior that I don't absolutely love.
So thank you, Chris Benjamin. It was a really pleasant time with you driving around the Seoul and talking about the new interior of this Grand Cherokee.
Yeah, no, it was an absolute pleasure hanging out with you, and thank you for the education on Seoul and getting to see the sights, and yeah, I had a great time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
자, 이렇게 해서 오늘 크리스 벤자민과의 서울 시내 돌아다니면서 이 디자인에 대한 요모조모도 한번 알아봤습니다. 저희 영상 재밌게 보셨다면 좋아요, 그리고 또 알림 설정과 구독 눌러주시고요. 저희는 다음에 더 좋은 영상으로 찾아오겠습니다. 감사합니다.